Hello, welcome TO Movie Musters. Invincible Season 3, Episode 6 is another great installment that blends the ever-present moral complexities of the show with a powerful new villain and captivating teases for the final two installments. Moving beyond Invincible Season 3's dragon villain, Episode 6 introduces another antagonist for Mark to overcome. Invincible's cast of characters adds Scott Duvall, a man who lived a normal life despite having electric-based superpowers, whose life is upended in a retroactive look at Season 1's ending. What spawns from this introduction is a fascinating story and one of the more intimate of the season thus far. I have made it no secret that I have loved this season and, despite a few occasional drawbacks, Episode 6 does not change that. Be it the voice acting, the depiction of a villain like Scott/Powerplex, or the continued development of side characters, Invincible Season 3 seems unable to fall out of the incredibly entertaining groove it has settled into. Powerplex is a fantastic addition to the world of Invincible, that's thanks to his more straightforward origin story. Powerplex punching though Eve's shield in Invincible Season 3 Episode 6. As someone who loves Invincible's tendency to poke fun at superhero tropes, I was surprised to find my favorite element of Episode 6 was Powerplex's more stereotypical origin story. Powerplex's sister and niece died during Omni-Man's fight with Invincible in Season 1's ending. This leads him down a path of revenge, bolstering his electric-based superpowers to the point where he can rival Invincible, though he's driven by hatred. The villainous arc felt akin to those in Batman and Spider-Man stories, thus giving the feud with Mark a much more intimate feeling than the often nameless, faceless threat of the Viltrumites. I mentioned in my review for Invincible Season 3, Episode 5 that I sounded like a broken record when praising the arguments about morality this season, and Powerplex added a whole new layer to that. Mark, although inadvertently, killed innocent people by the thousands, so why should he judge the likes of Darkwing, D.A. Sinclair, and, importantly, the story of Powerplex raised these questions. Meanwhile, Powerplex was bolstered by an excellent voice performance by Breaking Bad alum Aaron Paul. Invincible has been criticized lately for its animation, which many have attributed to the show's budget being spent on celebrity guest stars. In Powerplex's case, Paul's addition was a stroke of genius, with the veteran actor imbuing the entire performance with an overwhelming sense of pain that made him believable, even in his darkest moments. Invincible Season 3's animation slightly improves for Episode 6, for one reason in particular, Powerplex using his powers in Invincible Season 3. As I mentioned, Invincible's animation quality is often in the line of fire. I admit to contributing to that to an extent, with my review for Invincible Season 3's premiere noting as much. From a personal standpoint, my biggest issue with the show's animation is the lack of overall detail. The animation mostly looks fine, but interactive lighting, shadows, and overall artistry seem to be absent. The Prime Video series seems content with that. While I wish the overall show had more consistently brilliant animation, it is good to know that Invincible can still turn it up a notch. This doesn't change completely, but some elements allow for more artistry than is typically on display. The interactive lighting of Powerplex's electric abilities is a standout animation quality here, allowing for a much more dynamic look than in past episodes. While I wish the show had more consistently brilliant animation, it is good to know that Invincible can still turn it up a notch for the big moments and characters. Invincible Season 3, Episode 6 had some good supporting character moments. The new-look teen team continues to shine. New line. Some smaller moments also made me enjoy this episode more than Episode 5. The moment between Rudy and Amanda was suitably heartwarming, with the former finding a way to fix the latter's de-aging monster girl curse, and Oliver's continued Kid Omni-Man exploits were fun to behold. Then there was Rex and Ray, who argued over living a normal life together or staying on as superheroes. Ray made her decision, leaving Rex more on his own than ever. As someone who has not read Invincible's comics but knows some details, Rex's fate is unknown to me, and I am worried Invincible is setting up his decision to end in tragedy later on. The Invincible War. One of the few elements I do know from the source material is the Invincible War, which Invincible Season 3, Episode 6 finally teases is here. The returning Angstrom Levy reveals his plans to unleash villainous multiversal variants of Mark on Earth, promising an explosive end to the season. I cannot wait to see how it unfolds, with returning villains making for intriguing conversations, and the evil variants of Mark only likely furthering the moral questions of Invincible Season 3 that I love so dearly. Invincible Season 3, Episode 6 Review. all I can say is I'm sorry. One of the show's best episodes puts Mark face to face with the destruction left in his wake. Invincible Season 3, Episode 6 Review, all I can say is I'm sorry, new line. This review contains spoilers for Invincible Season 3, Episode 6 Review, all I can say is I'm sorry. It's been a while since large-scale devastation mattered on Invincible. To date, Season 3 has shrugged off any and all bloodshed, but with its flashback to the highly effective Season 1 finale, in which Nolan/Omni-Man uses Mark/Invincible as a battering ram to kill thousands of civilians, all I can say is I'm sorry, sets the stage for an emotionally rigorous reversal of that trend. The destruction of Chicago is seen through the eyes of GDA employee Scott, whose sister and niece are revealed to be two of the minor characters Mark brutally and inadvertently killed. This sets Scott down a path where he first seeks justice. It turns out Earth's laws remain too inadequate to deal with the intricacies of superheroics, and then, failing that, cold-blooded vengeance, even if it means putting his wife and son in harm's way. The events in Chicago, while horrific, were never really rooted in any specific, individual loss before. Now, they're jumping off point for a difficult reckoning. As the anniversary of the event approaches, Oliver questions why people aren't ready to forgive his father, who he only knew as a benevolent leader on Thraxa, forcing Mark to verbalize a difficult answer. People are still holding on to a pain that he buried long ago, if only so he could better function as a superhero, but Scott, now the villain Powerplex, doesn't have that luxury. Holding Mark responsible for his family's deaths, he shows up to Chicago repeatedly in a suit that turns physical blows into electricity, quite literally channeling his pain. It's a dark echo of the character Speedball/Penance in Marvel's Civil War comics. In addition to its myriad parodies and pastiches, Invincible continues to draw immense power from its sincere, grounded reinterpretations and remixes of other superhero comics. See also, the traces of Watchmen and Miracle Man in All I Can Say Is I'm Sorry. Scott keeps demanding Invincible's presence, and it takes a particularly dangerous scheme for them to finally come face to face during the episode's climax. In the meantime, the arriving Shapesmith, who finally comes into his own as the show's version of DC's uber-annoying Plastic Man, only makes Powerplex more irritated, and thus, more dangerous. The show builds its other subplots with more skill and balance than it has in recent weeks. Despite only factoring into one scene each, the Robot Monster Girl and Rex-Ray pairings are allowed enough time and breathing room to make significant dramatic headway. Robot's Hail Mary play to stop Monster Girl from aging in reverse finally pays off thanks to a tech-savvy belt, a moment of much relief for Monster Girl, though this emotional upswing dovetails into relationship tension elsewhere. After their first proper date last week, Ray confesses to Rex that she's ready to leave the Guardians. Being the hot-headed jerk he is, he can't help but take the timing personally. Some of the episode's more charming and heartwarming, not to mention its funniest, moments come from Paul, Debbie's boyfriend, and the new awkward addition to the Grayson household. As the only normie in the group, Mark, Oliver, and Eve have powers, while Debbie has long been the mother and ex-wife to superheroes. Paul is hilariously out of his depth, especially when they take the car from the suburbs to Chicago for the memorial, i.e. Paul and Debbie sit inside the car while Mark carries it through the air, with Eve and Oliver flying alongside him. Of course, this tongue-in-cheek transition leads to a much more somber occasion, involving the inauguration of a memorial with all 2,300+ names of the people who died that day, forcing Mark to really sit with. So there's an immense emotional heft added by having Powerplex reappear during this moment of reflection. His eventual plot to lure Invincible out of the shadows, pretending to kidnap his wife and kid, which leads to them being violently killed in the climactic fight, similarly forces Mark to confront how an already dangerous situation can become more so just because Invincible is there. This also helps reframe his recent crisis of morality. His belief that criminals all deserve to be locked up, end of discussion, is a way to avoid feeling like he has a hand in the things they get locked up for. Any emotional pieces that felt out of place this season have now firmly clicked, even though it's taken even more brutality towards innocent bystanders for Mark to recognize other people's pain. All I Can Say Is I'm Sorry doesn't acknowledge it directly, but making Mark and Oliver to face the direct fallout of Nolan's actions also makes the reformed patriarch's impending return all the more complicated. But since he's still light years from Earth's orbit, that's a story for another day. A more immediate concern, as revealed in the mid-credit scene, is the fact that lurking supervillain Angstrom Levy appears to have gathered various different Invincibles from alternate universes, and seems all but ready to unleash them. One can only imagine what coming face to face with the worst possible versions of himself will do to Mark at this stage. By drawing from some of the most powerful scenes in earlier seasons, All I Can Say Is I'm Sorry creates a self-contained arc for a brand new character that also impacts Mark in meaningful ways. Forced to reckon with the weight of his actions, and his very existence as a superhero on Earth, our hero's crisis of conscience shifts from abstract concerns to concrete regrets. This is one of the show's strongest episodes yet. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe for more videos.